Well, guys, it's a pleasure to be here this morning. I appreciate the invitation, Jody. I was pretty interested. I mean, you guys are in, I go to some of these meetings, are far wider range of activity. I'm astonished by how many different areas of utilities you guys are over. It's quite different from most of the systems. But one thing you are really tremendously blessed with, as you know, is the strategic location between, Knoxville, Tri-Cities, and then the interstate access is unparalleled, and plus your scenery, the lifestyle things with the Smoky Mountains. But somebody told me one time, they said, it seems like you're driving a whole day in Greene County on I-81, and people forget, look at this, how big Greene County is, but you're one of the most urban counties in Tennessee. I mean, population density, as you said, the industrial development. But when you look at the net areas, our bread and butter in this area, what we really wanted to highlight and stay with, and we do an annual automotive sector update, is the automotive sector. I mean, we will recruit, we're not going to turn down any company regardless of product to most extents. There's a few that we wouldn't be interested in. But I think it will amaze you throughout our area. And somebody said, well, you've left off one here. So this is not a complete list, it's just a sample of the automotive industries in our area. And one thing I did notice on the newspaper website recently, Molly's hiring, and we have seen that in Washington County with some of the automotive companies up there, that about every one of the automotive sector plants in the area is adding jobs. Now, one thing we did add this year to the directory was really headquarters. We really needed to know where these companies are from, how many are international. But when I first started looking through that list, I saw this come up, Mapes Piano Strings in Elizabeth, and I said, no, something's wrong here. I'm going to get, but I better call Tom Anderson, they've gone developer, to be sure on that. He said, no, it's not. I said, that's correct. He said, they now have a contract with dipsticks for VW and GM. But I thought, well, that really taught me a lesson. I said, that is how the extent of the automotive sector in our region, it's going to extend to places you don't expect. Now, one group that does help us a lot, I mean, you can go around the world, people have heard of NASCAR, they've heard of Bristol Motor Speedway. They do help us on hospitality, entertainment. We do provide race tickets for some of the new expanding companies every year, and they've been really good allies for us. Like Volkswagen comes, I think they've been in Pennsylvania years ago and dropped out, but coming back to Chattanooga, it seems like a no-brainer now, but they took a risk. These were the incentives that Tennessee put on the table, and it was a big win for the Southeast. It was the first new auto plant in Tennessee since 1985. It really has changed Tennessee's identity in the EU.
I was down there last week, and I had never been over that side. I'm sure he's toured it. The place is huge.
And it probably will be doubled within 3 years.
To the west or back?
To the south.
South?
Yeah, they're already preparing to
It's like Eastman.
2.5 million square feet under roof.
It's bigger than my whole London.
It's the most advanced manufacturing plant in the world right now. Of course, it's the newest, but it's absolutely unbelievable. One thing about the RIDA we think is efficient, effective, is taking the team trips. One county, Marshall, or when we were in Washington County, trying to do this by ourselves wasn't that effective, but trying to get several of us together. Here we had Richard Venable from Sullivan County. This was our host in Frankfurt, Germany. He's from Washington County. Myself, this was our consultant, John Kilgore, Scott County, Virginia, and Marshall. That's a really effective way to do this, and we were really amazed at the reception that we got and some of the contacts we made. The highlights for me was actually with Marshall to a visit to a VW supplier there. So I don't think there's any substitute for the one-on-one relationships. And Marshall, I don't think we've ever been to a scenic lunch appointment as this. But anyway, that is the Volkswagen headquarters in Germany. So we're going to really try to work that hard. This gentleman is director of ECD for the state of Tennessee in Europe, who I've not met, but that's one advantage that we have with Marshall coming from ECD in Chattanooga and working on that project. It's his contact base, and he's close friends with this guy, who's already sent us a few leads. So that's...
Do we know why Special K chose Kentucky instead of Tennessee?
Yes.
We do.
The governor of Kentucky stepped up and put about $3 million more in the pot.
he personally made that.
Yeah, I think power-wise, we proved our point with power, with reliability and cost, and I think we made a more than fair offer, but the governor did step up last minute and added some more money to the pot for them. And it was pretty aggressive for the number of jobs and for their investment.
What was it, 110, 107?
110 jobs.
What that mean to start with? It's about 30.
One of the guys from TVA, Tommy, told me, he said, seems like sometimes the Germans like to run in pairs, and they had a real close friend up there. There was another German company, and they had to begin to, but I mean, if you looked at everything that they told us, we were better situated in many ways.
We ran logistics numbers on every auto plant in the U.S. they would ship to. We had to be on logistics. Power was a slam dunk. It just,
I think the education systems.
Yeah, education
Some of
was-
their suppliers, you know.
and I think what a lot of these companies coming from outside the U.S. don't realize is those tax credits are very good on paper. But unless you have the sales to offset those credits, that's where they'll stay, is on paper. They'll never end up in the bank. So it always looks really good, but, and we tried to offer to sit down with them and explain the tax implications of what you do.
They
But
wouldn't listen.
they really didn't listen.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you one other thing too in that business, Marshall, I've seen at times the consultant that they hire is paid on the amount of incentives. And I've seen companies not steered to the optimal location before. I think that if you look at Murray, Kentucky versus here, but even there can be a line too, guys. I think that the bidding war gets a little bit too high. It was a phenomenal visit. And she said, I don't know, what can I do to repay you guys? This is an amazing meeting. I couldn't have envisioned where I could do all this just in a couple of days. This is her map. This is Volkswagen headquarters, and here's all the suppliers in her area. So I said, can you introduce us to some of the suppliers in your area? She said, oh, I can work that out. So anyway, that's part of our game plan. So we're going to be back.
But the idea they're gonna move over here somewhere to support Volkswagen, and we just need to.
Well, to try to get leads from them and then try to get the early, because most of these projects, they're being planned now for what they're going to do in 2016, is to get this contact base
When does
set.
the new car go into production? Yeah, is it?
They just announced it at the auto show, so probably 2 or 3 years.
Just pretty good.
We supplied Wolfsburg 225,000 power steering pumps in 1995 from this plant here.
Wow. And see, every time we hear the job increases in Chattanooga, which means more of the suppliers, the base out of the proven suppliers, a lot of them will now be interested coming over here.